Everybody, it's Tuesday, April 7th. Welcome to Scouting the League. It is who do I like and who am I wary of today. We talk a few players on the offensive side of the ball as we continue our trek towards the 2026 NFL Draft. We focus on offense today. Defense will be next week. Make sure you get tuned in for that one. Tomorrow, we are joined by Eric Edholm of NFL.com to talk all things 2026 NFL draft prospects, as well as Aaron Rodgers, Max Crosby, and perhaps even the Indiana Bears. It's a fun conversation. Make sure you tune into that one. Dane Brugler joins Neil and I next week, and Jordan Reed after that. Really excited we continue our trek towards the draft to talk all things draft. Before we jump in today, though, make sure you head over, like, subscribe, share this podcast wherever you're listening and watching. Hit those buttons. That subscribe one is the big one. Let us know you're listening and let us know that you like what you hear. Love to hear your comments. Love to hear your notes. Everything can be directed over to Right Step Advising at Right Step ADV on Twitter is where you can find me. rsafootball.com is my website. Go check out everything I have there. Hit me up with any messages you may have. Check out our partners over at bluemaca.com while you're there. Use code SCOUTING20 to let them know we sent you. If you're a scout or aspiring scout, make sure you check out the scoutingcommunity.com as well. All the resources you need if you are a part of the scouting community, want to be a scout, everything is there. So make sure you go check it out. But with that, let's start with the guys I like today. And again, we will talk. I've got three guys on the offensive side that I like. And we're going to go with three that I'm a little bit wary of. So again, let's start with one who is a really easy pick to be like, all right, yeah, this guy, he's no doubt going to be a good player. He's number one on a lot of teams' board. That's going to be Jeremiah Love. Well, what do you like? What do I like? Why do I think Jeremiah Love is the first player I'm going to be talking about in this group? Again, you start talking about, let's just go again. Does he have any questions to answer? And for me, the answer is no. He has answered questions all along the way. Run game, pass game, character, testing, explosion. Again, all the questions have been answered. Again, unless there's something that scouts have dug on, that are working on, learning inside the classroom. Again, I have not heard any indications on that. This seems to be a really clean, easy prospect. This is a guy that's run inside. He's run outside. He's run versus empty boxes. He's run versus loaded boxes. He has done it against a bunch of different types of defenses and in a number of different offensive type schemes and play calls. So again, he has done, if you're an NFL franchise, you can probably find on tape something that you're going to do that's easily directed. Again, we talk run pass game. Again, this guy has done it in the run game. He is also dynamic out of the backfield and has shown a willingness to protect. And he's got the athleticism, the size, the explosion to be good in protection. He's protected the ball. Again, and then you talk to traits. You talk about when you start going through individual film, putting on, again, if I'm a 1 through 9 grade, that's what Right Step Advising does. A lot of teams do that. Again, this guy who, again, explosive traits. Again, you're talking that very good to excellent level. Again, speed, very good to excellent. Again, you start working through all the traits that you're going to evaluate for a running back. Talked about that in the Scouting Trait series. Go back, check that one out. Again, vision, balance, strength, wiggle, explosiveness, route running, hands, like everything. It is a very good to excellent level. So again, you're going to have a bunch of, for a lot of teams, blue grades. It's going to be way up there. There is really not a lot of reasons to knock this player. You try to find reasons. You try to talk yourself out of a player like this because, again, you want to call it positional value. Again, what's going to be the long term? What are reasons not to like him? Great offensive line at Notre Dame, tradition. Again, you can find your reasons. It's very easy to find them. But again, you're going to have to do a lot to convince yourself that those are valid reasons not to take this guy. He ends up being a top 5 player, I think. And the way the draft falls this year, he's a top 5 player. He's a top 5 talent. He may be the best player, the highest player graded on some teams' boards. I could certainly see that. Again, we'll massage the board depending on what franchise we're with to make sure the guy that we're going to draft in front of Jeremiah Love has at least that equal grade with him. But again, Jeremiah Love is a really easy player to like. And there's a reason that I think he is maybe the top player in this draft. Again, the more you watch him, the more you like him. That's why we're going with Jeremiah Love, one of the first players that I like in this group. The next player that I like in this NFL draft, we're going to go probably a day two guy on the offensive line, get in the trenches, that's coming back from injury. That's going to be Connor Lew, center from Auburn. This is a guy that, again, going back to last summer, I thought he may be still a one more year guy, but he really took a lot of steps, a lot of strides, the stuff that you maybe expect to see over the course of about a year. He really took care of business, came in, was having a really good season before that injury. Now, again, he has to come back from the injury. All indications are he's healthy, he's good to go, no concerns from that. Again, so why is Connor Lew a guy I like? Again, we've seen what Tyler Linderbaum did for Lamar Jackson, that offense. We're seeing it with young quarterbacks. Hey, we got to have that pivot up front to run everything on the offensive line. Again, that to me is Connor Lew. There's really, again, not a lot of downside to this pick. This guy's going to be a day one plug and play starter who's going to be able to do it. More of a zone scheme fit than a gap scheme. But this guy gets after it. He's got some nasty. He's got some edge. He's got good, consistent snaps in the backfield. This guy worked in a couple different schemes. He worked with different quarterbacks. I mean, there was a lot going on that Auburn roster. And again, this was a guy that kind of throughout the season, last year, this year, answered the bell, showed up, put really consistent film down. Again, hits the ideals. Again, maybe not the oversized, maybe not that plus size that you'd like, but again, he hits the ideals. He's where you want him to be in terms of height, weight, speed, athletic testing, arm length. Again, he is just good at what he does. When you draft players like this on day two, plug him in as starters. Again, you're starting to maybe a second round, third round pick for Connor Lew. And this is a guy that I think is going to be an NFL starter for a long time. I think there is some high upside. Again, he is going to be a player that's going to be a top 10, a center. And when he's playing on a good team, all of a sudden that becomes a top 5 center. I think this is the type of player that, again, the Linderbaum, maybe not as athletic, not as fluid and explosive as Tyler was coming out, but I think Connor's got more natural strength than Tyler had coming out of Iowa a few years ago. So I think that's where the advantage Connor has. Again, can he be explosive? Can he be as fluid as Tyler was, working versatile scheme-wise? But again, you've seen now the track record, Tyler getting paid. Again, Connor could be that next guy that when his contract comes up, again, is it going to be another market reset for that center spot? I like Connor. I think this is a good player. I think he's going to be a day one starter for whoever takes him, and somebody's going to get really good value a little bit like, again, day two, again, Friday night of the NFL draft. I think Connor Lew is going to be a really good get for somebody. The third player that I'm going to like today, I may get out on a little bit of an island here, but again, it's going to be my guy, my quarterback at the University of LSU, Louisiana State University, Garrett Nussmeier. Again, I think Garrett has winning level traits. I think this is a start win quarterback that at the end of the day, he's going to do what an offense gives him to do. I think he's got enough talent to make the throws. He's got enough size to be able to play from the pocket. Again, it's never going to be ideal for him, but we're seeing teams around the NFL adjust scheme more and more to where that 6'4", 6'5" quarterback doesn't have to be the guy. Again, Baker Mayfield, of course, Brock Purdy is a guy who Nussmeier, in my opinion, has better traits than Brock Purdy, with, again, a little bit of that same, again, make it and win type of mentality. Again, Brock probably did more with less at Iowa State, but again, there was a lot stacked up in what was really an ugly season at LSU. Again, a lot of that is going to continue to come out in the wash the longer Garrett plays in the NFL. But Garrett is a guy that, again, coming into the year had huge expectations like the rest of this team. Man, he answered the bell and got smoked, got beat up, continued to answer the bell probably longer than he should have. Again, that's one of those things that NFL teams are going to be working with. All right, what could he have done? What should he have done? What was he asked to do? What should he, again, all those questions are going to be answered by scouts. And again, that's part of why, again, the height, the size, maybe the traits aren't quite where you want them for, again, probably a day one, day two quarterback. I think Garrett could end up going late in day three, maybe those compensatory picks, again, early on Saturday, as you start thinking about, all right, this guy, let's plug him in as a backup. I think when Garrett gets the chance in the NFL, I think this guy's going to turn into a start-win quarterback that wins games consistently. Not a guy you win because of, but a guy you win with. A guy that you put the right pieces around, you're going to win with these types of guys. Again, we've seen it with a guy like Daniel Jones. Of course, Brock Purdy's a great example of a guy like this that, again, has good level traits. Again, it was Matt Ryan late in his career, not elite athleticism, not an elite arm, but again, knows how to win. The guys trust him. Again, character questions that, again, more often than I've got, hey, yeah, they're, again, not everybody's cup of tea. Again, kind of more that Phillip Rivers type of personality has been the sense that I've got. He's going to be a little bit vocal. He may get after guys, but guys are going to go fight and battle for him. Again, that has been the sense I've got on Garrett Nussmeier, talking to different people. And again, why I think this guy is going to be a guy that come, 3-4 years from now, you look back at this draft and say, yeah, that was a good draft pick for a team that went out and got Garrett Nussmeier. As we flip it over to the guys that I am wary of, again, it doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean that there are elements that are, again, very, very impressive. But again, guys I am wary of, whether it comes to the plan, whether it becomes position fit, whatever it is. Kadyn Proctor is the first guy on this list for me. Again, size answers every question. Athleticism, he shows up, he has flashes, again, that may be the best among all the offensive linemen in this draft. Again, he's a guy that can play left tackle, but again, when you talk about he can and shown flashes, and again, when you're this good, this big, this athletic, and teams are still talking about kicking you into guard, again, just the concerns are continuing to show up. Again, forget the character piece for a second, because again, I think there's plenty of things that happened between Alabama, Iowa transfer, what the thinking was there. Again, you want left tackle, you want a really solid. Again, we're not going to just stick him out there. Don't worry about him. Plug and play him. Again, especially when you're talking about being a first round left offensive tackle, this guy has to be ready to go, highly reliable. You got to know what you're getting every snap. And again, that's the biggest thing is with Kadyn. For me, I don't know what I'm going to get from snap to snap. He's got plays where I'm going to completely trust him, but then he's got some busts. He's got some, plays where it's like, what were you doing? When your quarterback in the pocket starts thinking about that, all right, my guy out there, is he good on this snap? He dominated that last one. When's the bad one coming? The consistency for Kadyn Proctor's tape is my biggest question, my biggest concern. That's why I'm wary of is that consistency has to be there. On the offensive line, again, you probably take a notch less if the consistency is there over the big flashes, because again, when the flash is on the bad end, again, that is a good way to get your quarterback hurt, blindsided. When you're going to be protecting that blind side, you have to be consistent. Again, that is going to be the question I think teams are asking through the process. Can we get him to be consistent every snap? What mentally, what was Alabama doing? What has been missing with the consistency that we can do at the NFL level? Again, 32 NFL coaches are going to be happy to coach Kadyn Proctor. There's enough talent. There's enough there that, yeah, we're going to be happy to take him. Who is going to actually be able to get that consistency to the level where it needs to be? That's going to be the team that drafts him. If there is not a consistency, again, it's going to be a lot of frustration with Kadyn. And again, you're talking probably a trade candidate 3-4 years down the line for a team. All right, let's kind of reset it. Let's let somebody else think about that fifth-year option. First-round pick, first-round talent, first-round guy, I think all day. But again, I am going to be weary of drafting Kadyn Proctor if I'm an NFL team. The next guy I'm going to be weary of, we're going to stay in the trenches. We're going to kick over to the other offensive tackle spot, Blake Miller at Clemson. Again, this is a big guy. This is a guy that hits all the ideals in terms of the height, the weight, the length. Again, consistent, much more consistent than Kadyn Proctor is when you look at his overall tape. For me, it's what is the level of consistency, though. Again, this is a guy that had a lot of pub, was expected to be a guy that was going to come in and play well. Again, consistently consistently a solid football player. I don't know if I quite see a guy that I'm going to want to put out there on an island at right tackle every snap when I'm down 10, when I'm going 2-minute drill, when I know when that defense knows I'm going to be throwing the ball. Do I want this guy going one-on-one? You're going to have times where that's absolutely going to be the case. The athleticism is the big thing that comes up for me. Again, a little bit inconsistent with the way he moves. He can be a little bit herky-jerky. The feet can be a little bit slow at times. I think for me, this guy is ultimately a sufficient level athlete. He's got some good flashes, but it's more sufficient than it is good. Again, he does things technically, again, shows good vision, good instincts. Again, the consistent level of play is certainly there, which again, some teams at right tackle, hey, we can live with that. This guy can do enough to be a starter for us. He's got the size. Maybe there's just enough there. Great kid. Is going to continue to improve. Again, a guy like Kaleb McGary, we drafted. I was part of that draft that drafted McGary into Atlanta. Again, McGary continued to grow, has gotten better. Again, when he's been healthy, he's been a good right tackle. Again, I don't know if I quite see the McGary athleticism with this guy. But again, it becomes a question of, again, good, consistent football player. But again, how high is that ceiling? What level of football player are you going to get him? Again, if he gets drafted late first, second round, again, you're probably going to be expected to be a starter year one, early in year one. Again, I am going to be keying on that guy on the other side of the ball. He's going to be a guy I'm circling schematically to attack. Let's get some one-on-ones. And for a starter that you're spending high draft capital on, again, I am wary of that from an offensive draft standpoint. The last player we're going to talk about that I am wary of drafting today is going to be back at Alabama, Ty Simpson, quarterback. Of course, a bit of a surprise coming out in this 2026 NFL draft. There is a lot to like. Again, from the player standpoint, again, good level traits almost across the board. You like this guy, enough size, good arm strength. He can make all the throws. Again, you saw some big time throws throughout the year. Again, everybody wants to talk, well, first half, first 3 quarters of the year, opposed late in the year, got beat up. Again, you want guys that adjust. You want guys that grow. You want guys that figure out a way. Again, Ty has still a lot of upside, a lot of maturity, a lot of growing to do. And that's where the concern comes in with Ty, because again, a lot of NFL teams are going to be sitting here with Ty. The scouts will be talking, coach will be saying, the plan with Ty Simpson, let's put him behind a veteran. Let's put him behind, again, whoever it is. Let's develop him for a year or two. We can look at what the Green Bay Packers did with Jordan Love, with Aaron Rodgers. That's a perfect scenario. Is your franchise going to be patient enough? Is the coaching staff going to be there long enough? Is the front office going to remind everybody of the plan for Ty Simpson? Is ownership going to walk into the head coach's room and say, it's time to see Ty? Again, all these things are going to matter for Ty Simpson's NFL development and NFL career. It is such an easy thing for scouts to sit around the table in the draft room and say, hey, this is the plan for Ty Simpson. Again, Anthony Richardson. For a lot of these young quarterbacks we see in the NFL, this is the plan. We're going to sit him for a year. We're going to develop him. But it's a certain point, we see it more and more now today. Young guys are expected to step in and play much more, much earlier than they ever should be. And again, much earlier than the plan said they should be. I think Ty Simpson, where he goes, again, it's easy to say, maybe it's a cop out on my part, but again, I'm wary of a lot of NFL franchises drafting Ty Simpson, knowing that they are not going to be able to stay patient long enough to get Ty Simpson where he needs to be before he steps on an NFL field. He's got to take time. He's got to get some reps preseason, late in game, sprinkling him in here and there to get those reps. Again, NFL development, practice, training camp, that's not helping the process as the NFLPA has continued to back it off. We're talking about hurting quarterback development. Ty is going to be a very interesting case and could be that swing guy to, again, maybe as we get closer to negotiate, hey, we've got to have more practice time. We've got to get more, a longer runway for these guys to develop. Ty Simpson is going to be one of those cases. But again, in this year's draft, I'm going to be wary of drafting Ty Simpson. Again, there's probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 NFL franchises where I would really trust them to stick to the plan. We'll see if they get him. We'll see where Ty Simpson ends up going, but he's a guy I'm wary of. So who are you wary of? Who do you like? Who's going to be a guy that, man, this is just a great pick. We like him. We love him. Let me know at RightStepADV. We'll find out where everything goes in just a few short weeks as we get to the 2026 NFL Draft. Make sure you're tuning in to everything we have here on Scouting the League. And most importantly, keep scouting.